time, we're starting off with debates about whether the experience of family life is positive or is it negative for family members. And this is on page number 105 from our Cambridge endorsed book. Now, when we talk about the experience of family life, as we talk about the experience of family life, is it a positive experience? Is it a negative experience for family members? Another thing, is the experience the same for everyone? That's questionable too. In order to take this a step further, I'd like to discuss this under the heading of consensus theories and conflict theories. And I think by now everyone does have an idea that the consensus theorists, that is, functionalists, they would emphasize or they'd focus more on the positive aspects of family. And when we speak about conflict theorists, that is Marxists and feminists, they would focus more on the negative aspect of family life. Though how family life affects individuals is matter of some sociological debate, consensus theorists generally believe that the benefits of family life make up or outweigh for the problems. Or in other words, the benefits are more than the problems that individuals experience when they are living in a family. And the conflict theorists, on the other hand, they take a very different view, or they hold a very different opinion on this. According to them, family life is not as the functionists claim it to be, like, or family life has more of problems and fewer good things that are there to offer to individuals. So if we speak in terms of the consensus perspective first. Now, when we speak about the consensus perspective, as we all know, functionists come under this heading. According to the consensus perspective, or according to functionalists, there are different structures that are there in the society, and every structure has a positive role or a positive contribution to make towards the society. When we talk about every structure playing a positive role, of course family is, according to this, just another structure that is playing a very beneficial role for the society. And this pretty much explains why functionists focus on the positive aspects of family life more as compared to the negative aspects. Though functions stress the positive aspects of family life, where they see the benefits as outweighing the possible costs. They recognize that the family is not a perfect institution, of course. It may be dysfunctional to some family members, and some families do have to experience the darker side of family, that is, domestic violence and child abuse, but these are exceptions. Now, if you, like I had said earlier, the functions approach is focusing more on the positive aspects. They're not saying there isn't anything bad that happens within a family too, but they think the positive part is more than the negative part. They believe that the nuclear family is the best we have in terms of fulfilling a range of needs and functions for both an individual and the society. For individual, we all know about, for the society as well. This isn't something new that we're studying over here. We know how functionalists have always supported the idea of a nuclear family. According to them, the nuclear family is the best or the perfect institution that is there. And a nuclear family is the best family form, and a nuclear family is the most idealistic family form. Parsons supported this, Good supported this. And if we talk about the new right perspective, the new right perspective again supports the nuclear family too. But for now, we're focusing on the functionist perspective over here. Let's talk about how a family is beneficial, or it serves a range of different functions for both the individuals and society. Number one, through family, you get companionship. I'm sure everyone would agree to this because we've already discussed this. Your family provides you with security. We're referring to emotional security, physical security, sexual security, psychological and economical security. I'd like to remind you about the functions of family that Murdoch came up with as well, right? You can refer to those as well. So, according to the functions perspective, the range of functions that are performed by the family, these are we talking about these range of functions helping an individual and the society both. Number one, we spoke about how through family individuals get companionship. Number two, we spoke about how there's emotional, physical, sexual, psychological, and economic security that is provided by the family to the individuals. And family, according to the functionist perspective, is the best institution through which you could raise children or through which children get socialized. To remind you all about Talcott Parsons, the prominent American functionist, the person, he was the faculty member at the Harvard University as well. And Parsons was very popular during the 1960s. He was a middle class American functionist. Now, the reason why I'm giving you details on Parsons is because I want you to be able to scrutinize कि पार्सन्स को अगर फैमिली इतना ही एक पॉजिटिव इंस्टीट्यूशन लग रहा है, is it probably because of his background? Had he not been from the middle class, would things have been different for him? Question mark. Right? So Talcott Parsons, according to Talcott Parsons, as we all know, there are two basic and irreducible functions of family, and they are: number one, primary socialization; number two, stabilization of adult personalities. While functionists such as Parsons argue that contemporary families play an important stabilizing role for both the individual and society, postmodernists focus on individual psychological stability. Now, according to the postmodernist perspective, remember, Parsons is a functionalist. Functionalism is a modernist perspective, right? Functionalism is a modernist perspective. Modernist perspective, right? Functionalism is a modernist perspective, just like Marxism, feminism, so on and so forth. And for now, we're talking about this modernist perspective being compared with this postmodernist perspective, right? Postmodernist perspective. So, while functionalists such as Parsons argue that contemporary families play an important stabilizing role for both the individual and society, postmodernists focus on individual psychological stability. This involves questions about identity, who we are, and how we understand our position in the society. Now, if we talk about this under the heading of postmodernist perspective, remember the four basic points that I ask everyone to keep in mind whenever we're talking about postmodernism. Number one, according to postmodernist perspective, there has been technological advancement today, and this technological advancement can be linked to families as well. Like I say, NRTs, new reproductive technologies, that is an example of technological advancement. Number two, postmodernists believe there is more of choice today. This aspect of it, right? Individuals, according to the postmodernist perspective, have a lot more choice today than they had or than they did back in the past, right? Number three, according to the postmodernist perspective, they are against the modernist perspective, and to the extent that they call them meta narratives. According to postmodernists, meta narratives, they're against meta narratives. According to them, jitne bhi modernist perspectives and they're all meta narratives. In other words, they're all big stories, they're all very different versions of reality, right? एक वर्जन ऑफ रियलिटी आपका कुछ और है, एक वर्जन ऑफ रियलिटी आपका कुछ और है, एक वर्जन ऑफ रियलिटी आपका कुछ और है, राइट? तीनों जब अलग अलग चीजें कह रहे हैं तो तीनों या तीसों, right? They could be three, they could be 30, right? When they're all coming up with different points, they can't all be correct, right? So according to the postmodernist perspective, like I said, one, technological advancement; two, they believe there's more of choice; number three, they're against meta narratives; number four, they believe absolute truth does not exist. According to them, absolute truth does not exist. Anything that is true today has the possibility of being proven wrong tomorrow. So postmodernists focus on individual psychological stability, right? Over here, compare this with this. Postmodernists, they focus more on individual psychological stability, the stability in terms of you being able to discover yourself, you being able to figure out your own identity, you being able to shape your own identity. The question about who I am, or who we are, and keeping in mind who we are or the social group that I belong to, what sort of position do I hold in this society? For instance, if you're a male, do you find yourself to be in a different position in the society as compared to females? If that helps you understand. So, postmodernists focus on individual psychological stability. This involves questions about identity, who we are, and how we understand our position in society. Taking it a step further, linking it up with the amount of choice that individuals have. Now, one more thing, do you know what? I think this is pretty simple. The more choice you have, the more chances there are of you being uncertain about yourself, right? If we talk about ourselves in the part of the world that we all belong to, over here we have very limited amount of choices about what our roles are. I know things are changing, it's 2021 as I speak, but if a major chunk of people living in South Asian countries, talk about Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh, they do not really have the amount of choice that the postmodernists, probably keeping the West in mind, talk about. So, cultural globalization has given people more choice about their everyday behavior, according to the postmodernist perspective. According to postmodernists, cultural globalization has ended up providing people with more of choice about their everyday behavior. However, the disadvantages of this almost unlimited choices is that it can cause uncertainty. A very simple example, you see, if I have three shoes to wear, I know, I mean, let's just say, if I have just one pair of shoe to wear, I know that's the shoe that I'd be wearing every day. And if I have 30 pair of shoes to wear, that would cause uncertainty, that would make me think, or make me that would make me wonder what particular shoe should I be wearing, and that would probably happen every day. तो जितनी ज़्यादा चॉइस होगी उतनी ज़्यादा अनसर्टेनिटी होगी हमारे पास. However, the disadvantage of this almost unlimited choice is that it can cause uncertainty about who we are and how we are supposed to behave. The old certainties of class, gender, age, and ethnic social identities no longer guide us on how to behave appropriately in any given role, so our sense of identity has become more unstable. Now, according to the postmodernist perspective, we have more of choice today. According to the functionist perspective, we shouldn't be considering these choices, and there's this one particular type of family that we should all stick to. Now, moving on, you know what, the if I focus on this part, starting from this to this, from this to this, right, if I talk about this particular part, you know what, there was a time when there were certain characteristics that we could attribute to the social class an individual belonged to the gender, right? If there was a male, you had certain expectations from a male to behave in a particular manner. If we spoke of a female, आपके पास एक specific किस्म की expectations होती थी society की आपसे, ठीक है? Likewise, age related expectations, or not, if I use the term, yeah, the word expectations works over here, but along with expectations, acceptance, right? Acceptance, today we see more of acceptance towards mixed gender roles. Today we see more of acceptance towards behaviors from individuals from a particular age bracket that we once did not. I hope we're all getting this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, the old certainties of class, gender, age, and ethnic social identities no longer guide us on how to behave appropriately in any given role. So, our sense of identity has become increasingly unstable. This unlimited choice has led to uncertainty. This uncertainty has probably led to an increased instability, right? Family life can also suffer from this, but people now have more choice about how to be, for example, a father or a daughter. And so families are a strong focal point that provide a much clearer sense of who we are and how we relate to others. Now, since we are discussing all of this under the heading of consensus theories, under the heading of the functionist perspective, according to this entire thing that we just discussed, postmodernists claim we have unlimited amount of choice, right? इस चॉइस से हमारे पास अनसर्टनिटी आएगी, इस अनसर्टनिटी से हमारे पास इंस्टेबिलिटी आएगी. एंड फैमिली इज एन इंस्टीट्यूशन दैट इन एन uncertain world defines our roles for us. A family teaches us what the role of a father is, and what the role of a daughter is, what the role of a wife is, what the role of a mother is, what the role of a son is, right? However, there can be differences. Like, there could be, I mean, we could make use of choice over here, but to an extent. I'm a father, I could be a very strict one, or I could be a father who's more like a friend to my kids. Do we get this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now,
Yes, sir.
the sense of personal and social responsibility created within family has wider benefits for the community as well. In other words, what we're talking about is what the functionists are talking about over here is ज़रूरी नहीं है कि ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ individually एक particular family को positively जरूरी नहीं कि एक पर्टिकुलर फैमिली को ही पॉजिटिवली हेल्प आउट कर रही हो दिस इज helping out communally helping out the community and the society as well. So a sense of personal and social responsibility that is created within families has wider benefits for the community because children are given clear moral and behavioral guidelines, right? Children are told what is right and what is wrong. We're talking about morality, being able to differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. Children are given clear cut instructions right from when they're young, and they get behavioral guidances. This is acceptable, this is not acceptable, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you're not supposed to do, this is what you're supposed to stay away from, right? This also involves a sense of moral commitment to others that form the basis of social responsibility. Within the family, adult partners play roles based on domestic labor and care for others, shared economic provision as well, and so on, showing both personal sacrifice and commitment to other family members. We're talking about family members sacrificing, right? We're talking about personal sacrifice, we're talking about a commitment towards other family members, right? When you're involved into domestic labor, when you know that you have to care for others, when you know you're the economic provider, right? Give me a minute. Now if you take this a step further, we spoke about how how family members, they, through domestic labor, through caring for each other, through economic provision, through personal sacrifices, through certain commitments towards other family members, they're helping each other out. The question is, what do they get in return? What do they get in return? Now, according to Becker, this is a nice one here. In return, people receive from the family what Becker calls the psychic income. Now, when we talk about psychic income over here, what exactly is psychic income? The psychological pleasure gained from a relationship involving a sense of personal commitment, love, and affection. The psychological pleasure that you gain from a relationship that is based on sense of personal commitment, love, and affection. You know what? If you have had a long day, if there are days when you don't really feel good. By the end of the day, when you go back home, you get to hug your mom and it all starts seeming all right to you. The amount of love, affection that you get from your family is what you get in return of the care you're providing or the sense of commitment you're showing towards your family. And Becker is referring to all of this as a psychic income. Or if I talk about, if we talk about a typical, uh, since we're studying this under the hearing of functions perspective, a typical male breadwinner, when he gets back home, he sees his kids playing around. The kids would come running, hugging you if it's a desi family. That's the income we're talking about. That's psychic income we're referring to. I don't know if this has ever happened. Your parents, when they're back from work, and after seeing you, or if there are younger kids at home, after they are done, after when they're spending time with their children, it just, the desi way, if you put it the desi way, they say puri thakan ya thakan, what do you call it, wo thakan utar jati hai puri bande ki. Do we all understand this?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. So we were referring to this idea of a psychic income that was put forward by
सर
Pick.
रियलिटी में ऐसा होता है सर?
Can you say it again?
सर रियलिटी में ऐसा होता है कि थकन उतर जाती है?
Are you asking me?
यस सर।
Why would I want to answer?
नहीं सर, एक्सपीरियंस पूछ रहा था सर आपका।
Why would I want to share my experience here? Yeah, of course. If you come back home, That works for everyone. I mean, if I ask you, if you've had a long day, you come back home, you're not really happy that particular day, things aren't really working in your favor, you come back home, you hug your mom, you speak to her, don't you feel good? Don't you feel better?
Yes, sir.
Likewise. Okay, now we speaking about this conflict perspective here. The conflict interpretation argues that the costs of, okay, now wait, we done with the functions perspective, we studied about the functions perspective under the heading of consensus theories. Now the flip side of coin, we're talking about conflict theories over here. While discussing conflict theories, we would focus on Marxism and we would focus on feminism here. Get it? Now, according to the conflict perspective, the costs that an individual bears, the amount of problems that an individual faces, outweighs the benefits that you get from a family. Get it? The conflict interpretation argues that the cost of family life cancels out its benefits. Within this approach, there are three general views: those who see the family as psychologically harmful, those who see the family as socially oppressive and exploitative towards women, and the darker side of family, right? So we're studying all of this under three main headings. Remember, I had mentioned there's an entire, what do you call it? There are a couple of slides that are present there. I had shown it to you all earlier as well. You
On the app, ji sir.
on the app, yes, you better. I mean, you click on AS Sociology, go to PowerPoints. The first file over here is Darker Side of Family. You read through this, I mean, your book doesn't, I feel your book doesn't really do justice to this topic because there's a lot more that we can add to it, right? I'm not asking you to learn everything, but you might as well read this, especially this one over here. Wait, yeah, this slide that says critical theory over here, right? I'd rather want you all to read through this right now only. According to Edmund Leach in 1967, let me explain this to you as well. They argued that close-knit family group is a source of social and psychological conflict that damages people's life. We're talking about how a close knit family group, when there is, the bond is too strong, when people are too close, there's a lot of this can actually cause, or this can actually be a source of social and psychological conflict. At times your parents want something you don't, and then you have to give in. People from your age bracket, they refer to that as emotional blackmailing as well. I don't. I mean, I think I take parents' side because I'm a parent now. But do you guys get this?
Yes, sir.
Everyone? Everyone
Yes,
gets
sir.
this? Number two,
Yes,
according
sir.
to Ling and Esterson, they see the family as an emotionally exploitative institution, and problems created within it are reproduced in our society as a whole. An emotionally exploitative institution. मेरा बच्चा डॉक्टर बनेगा, मेरा मेरी बेटी इंजीनियर बनेगी, or things like that, or marry this person, marry that person. These examples are the ones that are pretty relatable in our part of the world. But I'd still like to take parents' side. Number three, according to David Cooper in 1972, suggests that the family group as an institution that stunts the individual's social and psychological development. It restricts freedom of expression and results in the murder of their selves. That's too strong, but restricting freedom, or restricting liberty, or restricting freedom of expression, if someone, with all due respect to the subject arts, if someone wants to take arts as a subject, I don't think many parents would be in favor. I know with the pass of time in our country things are changing, which is a good thing, but why arts? Talk about sociology. 10 years back, people, it's a very typical question. I mean, I've come across parents who'd, in a very innocent manner, innocent and curious manner, ask, मेरा बच्चा इसके बाद क्या करेगा अगर वो सोशियोलॉजी आज पढ़ता है? तो do we get this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, and also the feminist perspective also says that women are exploited. So वो भी एक तरह का सोशल और साइकोलॉजिकल काइंड
According to
ऑफ
this perspective, yes.
एक्सप्लॉइटेशन हुई. यस जी
Yes.
सर.
Yes. Get it? Restricting freedom of expression. I'm not. There are so many examples that you could give over here.
यस सर.
One, there
जी
there,
सर. थैंक.
there are people in our there are females in our country who study so hard and end up
They're
being
not allowed to pursue
yeah
their
career.
career path.
Yeah. But then again, things are changing. It's 2021 already. Looking forward towards a better society, better respectable and tolerant society ahead. Now, moving on, we're talking about the conflict perspective over here, getting back to this. So, yeah, the reason why I opened that was to show you where it is, and I expect you to go through it. If you go through it, it's a good thing. If you don't, I can't do much. Now, the cost of family life cancels out its benefit. Within this approach, there are three general views. Number one, psychologically harmful. This we've just discussed. Some writers, now we know the name of writers as well, have suggested that the nuclear family can have a damaging psychological effect on its members. Do we all get this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Number
sir.
two, socially oppressive and exploitative for women. This view is put forward mainly by Marxist feminists who draw attention to the oppression and exploitation of women within the family. Do we get this? Do we get
जी
this?
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So, yeah, they see most women taking an exploited role as an unpaid servants to their partner and children. Get it? Link this up over here.
जी
Socially
सर.
oppressive and exploitative of women. Socially oppressive and exploitative of women. This one. They see most women taking on an exploited role as unpaid servants to their partner and children. This service role, especially when part of a double shift involving work inside and outside the home. Get it here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This service role, especially when part of a double shift. Now, this idea of double shift was, or we could call it a dual burden, was put forward by Anne Oakley. Women expected to work at home, domestic responsibilities, and outside home.
सर ट्रिपल शिफ्ट भी.
That's Duncombe and Marsden, yeah. But because it was double shift that was written over here, that is why I referred to that.
नहीं,
ठीक
आई एम सेइंग वो भी हो सकता है,
है?
राइट?
हो सकता है मैं लिख भी देता हूँ. Triple shift put forward by Duncombe and Marsden. That would be
और
work,
सर रिजर्व ऑफ लेबर भी.
yes, outside
ब्रोगर.
and emotional support. Reserve Army of Labor, yeah. So, do we all get this?
यस सर.
This service role, especially when part of a double shift involves work inside and outside at the home, contributes to the patriarchal exploitation of women as domestic laborers through the provision of free physical, psychological, sexual, and emotional services. Do we all understand this?
यस सर.
There's
Yes,
just
sir.
there's this amazing reference that you guys can add over here. Do you want me to show that to you?
जी सर. यस.
By
Yes, sir.
Delphine Leonard. Here you go. So it was the app, A Sociology, PowerPoints, Family Extra Material. This is that's by Delphine Leonard. And
सर बिकॉज इतनी एविडेंस नहीं है, तो अगर कोई क्वेश्चन आएगा तो इस वाले के अंदर ज्यादा एविडेंस नहीं होगी.
yeah. Now look at this. Do you see this? Delphi
यस.
and Leonard, the nine characteristics. You have seen the pathway. You can open this. Do not take screenshots. It's there. You can read it whenever 24/7. So yeah, these 9 points along with this, you could add up this part, the domestic labor part, according to Delphi. I just yeah zoom it for you. According to Delphine, you guys can take a screenshot right now if you want to. You can take a screenshot right now. But according to Delphine Leonard, time budget study showed that the amount of time spent on domestic work has not declined in this century, and women still do twice as much work as men in all Western and Eastern countries. Even when women are in paid employment, they still hold the responsibility to responsibility to take care of the sick, elderly, and children in the household. In case of the wife being disabled, the responsibility falls on other family, female relatives. You could add this, or these points are amazing. How about, can someone read them? Can someone read them? Do I
Yes,
have
sir.
the volunteer? Yeah. Can you read these points? Delphine Leonard studied.
Ji, sir. Delphi Leonard studied the work of a British sociologist, Janet Finch, and extracted a few types of help provided by wives. Office work for self employed husbands, such as answering calls for the husband, like playing the role of a semi personal secretary. Proofreading for author husbands. Wives provide moral support, observing and moderating his emotions, arranging entertainment and relaxation, and providing certain needs. They are good listeners. They help them unburden themselves from work problems.
Did you
They
just
provide trouble.
listeners?
Ji, sir?
Did you just say they're good listeners?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go on.
They provide trouble-free sex. They make a house a home by comfort, warmth, etc. Um, they compromise and control their emotions in order to provide emotional support for their husbands.
Do we get this?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Right. And Delphine Leonard, you see this list over here, radical feminists, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Yeah, these points too.
Uh, sir, they flatter, boast, and sympathize with their husbands and pay attention to them to give them a sense of well being. In contrast, men make little contribution to their wives' work. They find it psychologically and socially impossible to work under their wives' direction. Their ego doesn't allow them to listen, take directions from their wives.
Now, do we all understand this? I mean, there's a lot more. There's a lot more. If you like reading, you'd enjoy this. Now, I hope we're all sorted with this. Moving on towards the third point, having a dark side, including domestic violence and child abuse. Let's talk about domestic violence over here. World Health Organization in 2002 figures estimate that around 70% of female murder victims are killed by their male partner, and that around 25% of all women worldwide experience sexual violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Although there are wide variations across different countries, I think this paragraph pretty much explains it all. I'd like to remind again the file that said a darker side of family. Go through that, you'd come across a lot of details from there. I mean, you'd come across references. One, you'd come across content that you'd be able to write in a better manner, right? You can, that can help you develop your answers. Now, if I have a look at cross-cultural comparison over here, if we talk about the proportion of women experiencing rape or sexual assault within domestic settings in their lifetime. Highest is in Peru and the lowest is in Japan. Get it?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
if you're putting in statistics, if you think you're prepared with everything else, if you want to make your answer super fancy, you might as well refer to the source as well. Get it?
Ji, sir.
Moving on, if we speak about child abuse over here, child abuse has strong links to domestic violence. Men who are violent towards their partner are often violent and abusive towards children in their care. The most likely abuser, according to the UK National Commission of Inquiry into the Prevention of Child Abuse, is someone known to the child, particularly a male parent or a step parent. There's a separate slide on this again. Let me show this to you. Darker side of family, the abuse of children. Do you see this
Yes, sir.
spot, right? You might as well take help from here. This is extra content. This is going to be really helpful. You want to bring in statistics. Here are statistics. You could bring in these statistics too. Do we all get this?
जी सर.
Yes.
Now, this brings this topic to an end, and I hope it is clear to everyone. Is it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions regarding this?
No, sir.
Sir,
No, sir.